move on because we've got another big story, Afghanistan. Let's turn to what is happening in Kabul. The latest ground report, just hours from now, the US is expected to conclude its evacuation operations in Afghanistan. But even as the American troops prepare to exit completely by Tuesday, several rockets were launched on Kabul airport by terror groups. The US intercepted some of those rockets, but the questions are that a US drone attack has been marred by reports that civilians, including children, were killed in a drone strike on suspected terrorists. Take a look.
The countdown has begun. On Tuesday, the last of US troops will leave Afghanistan, drawing the curtains on a war that lasted 20 years. But the exit by no means is peaceful. Thousands still await escape from the chaos and terror in Afghanistan. Multiple rockets were launched on Kabul airport on Monday by terror groups. At least 5 of the incoming rockets were intercepted by US anti-rocket defense system installed at the Hamid Karzai International Airport. At least 1 rocket struck the Salim Karwan neighborhood near the airport.
It was 6 o'clock in the morning and we were not asleep when we heard the sound of a dangerous explosion. When we went out, we saw that the car was on fire. We condemn this act. It is inhuman and un-Islamic.
The rocket attacks come a day after a US drone attack on a car allegedly laden with explosives. Later, eyewitnesses told local media that several civilians, including children, were killed in the attack. The Taliban have called the US bombing illegal.
According to eyewitnesses, rockets struck Salim Karwan neighborhood. Here at last, and building was hit by rocket and was partially damaged.
Amidst the terror attacks by Islamic State Khorasan and counter-strikes, the US forces are in a race against time to evacuate as many people as possible. US President Joe Biden received the bodies of 13 American soldiers at the Delaware Air Force Base who were killed in the August 26 suicide bomb attack near the Kabul airport.
My national security team and I have been closely monitoring the situation.
Biden has warned of more retaliatory strikes before it withdraws if terror strikes continue. With Ahmed Naveed Quaish in Kabul, Bureau Report, India Today.
And joining me now is Ayub Khaurin. He's Afghanistan editor at the VOA, Voice of America in Washington. Appreciate you joining us. Ayub, give us a sense of what the next 24 hours really mean as the Americans finalize their evacuation, prepared to evacuate completely out of Kabul. Do you see a vacuum and the kind of violence that we've seen in the last 48 hours being prolonged, even more violence? How do you see the next period post the American withdrawal?
Well, tomorrow is certainly a historic day. A 20 years long U.S. engagement in Afghanistan militarily comes to an end that may not be the best way to that or hoping for, but it's coming to an end that the president, the United States, the president promised that he will bring the U.S. troops home. And the U.S. Taliban deal called for it. It was initially May 1st, and then with the new administration, it was set up for August 31st. And tomorrow is that day. Now, the violence in Afghanistan, ISIS-K was present in the border areas of Afghanistan, Pakistan. across the Durand line. They did attack many civilians, and many of its leadership were arrested. And the mother of all bomb was dropped on an ISIS center in Nangarhar. But I think it is a splinter group from the TTP, Pakistan Taliban, and some Afghan Taliban who were not in line with its leadership. The number is said to be somewhere between 2,000 to 3,000. They are pockets, but they don't hold territory as per se. And now the expert view is that it's more present in the cities, and its operatives can.
But do you see it getting worse? But do you see this now breaking into some kind of a power tussle, civil war between these various factions, these various militias? Or do you believe that with the Americans gone, the most identifiable enemy target will not be there and they will work out some kind of a deal? How do you see these? I mean, how do you see these groups working with each other in the days ahead now?
I think that's a lot has to be seen how it unfolds with Taliban in control of the most of Afghanistan, except for Panjshir. They have taken over the rest of Afghanistan. Now, the international community is also looking for, may not be friendship or partnership, but a collaboration or coordination that Afghan land is not being used for terrorist activities. Now, Taliban have promised to do that, and with everybody, what we hear in Washington and the rest of the democratic world, the European Union, the NATO allies, is that actions, they will see Taliban actions, and they are observing, and that the Taliban do what they have committed to in their talks in agreement with the U.S. and the rest of the world. Now, Taliban is the trust. There is no trust, and they have to build that. They have to show in actions that they are after regional terrorists who destabilize the region and who are a threat to the U.S. and international community's interests in that part of the world.
So, in a sense, therefore, the test begins now. Now is the real challenge. Will the Taliban, the real challenge in a sense begins for the Taliban, right? Ayub Khoury, I appreciate your joining us. As I said, there's a huge amount of mistrust with the Taliban. Its past record does not inspire confidence. We will wait and see how this builds up, as you said, how it unfolds in the weeks and months ahead. Ayub Khoury, Afghan editor, VOA, thanks very much for joining me. Thanks very much for joining me there from Washington.